Hey, Algebra 2. Mr. Thomas here, hopping in on my little red exercise ball. If you've ever used these for exercise, they're fun. They're also fun to hop around. If you remember back in elementary, during PE, you used to have those little things that you would hop around the gym. Maybe you didn't have those at your school, but I did. And so that was a little nostalgic. But anyways, we are back for more Algebra 2, and we are starting a new chapter, Chapter 4. And our lesson for today, relatively short. It should be pretty easy, but we're going to look at quadratic functions and transformations, all right? Now that seems like a mouthful, all right, but remember transformations, we discussed this, I know back in Chapter 2, but that's just, like moving a graph to the right or left, moving it up or down. We've learned about functions. Those are just sets of coordinates, and then we just got to figure out kind of what a quadratic is. And so our goal is to identify and graph quadratic functions. Let's go. All right, so remember, if something is in blue, you need to write that down in your notes. All right, so this is what's called vertex form. And remember the f of x, that's essentially sort of like a y, which lets us know that we're going to be graphing something. But f of x, there could be any number in there. But let's look at some of these things. A, I'm going to make that, I'll make it green. The A, notice is outside of the parentheses on the left. All right, and when I look at these, I kind of like to look from left to right, but the A is what I like to call the kind of slope. All right, so it's not really a slope. Okay, think back to slope-intercept form. The m y equals mx plus b. The number up here in front of the x was the slope. Well, with vertex form of quadratics, this A is kind of the slope. It's not exactly, but it kind of helps us know what the graph is going to look like. Then you have the x minus h, and the h corresponds with the x value, okay? So the x coordinate. And then the k corresponds with the a value. Now you'll notice something different about this, and this is actually how we're going to identify it being a quadratic. We have this square, this 2. It's 2 exponent. This lets us know that this is going to be what's called a quadratic equation, and it lets us know the shape of the graph. So if you see this 2 exponent, it is always going to mean that we are going to have a U-shaped graph, okay? A U-shaped graph if we see that. So when you get to this, and we're going to look at some examples, when you get to this equation, you're going to identify it, okay, it's a U, and then you have to decide is it a U up or a U down. Well, this number right here is positive, the U is up. If this number, whatever A is, if it's negative, then the U is going to be down. And then we're going to use this just like we did when we did absolute value graphing, and we're going to see this stuff a lot more. But if you see an X inside of parentheses or inside of absolute value brackets or inside a square root box with another number, that's going to help us find the vertex, and you're just going to drop the number, switch the sign, and then the number outside just drops. So let's look at this example right here. It just says f of x equals x squared. So the first thing I identify is that, okay, I have the squared, so this is going to be a u, and then I look, and I don't see a number. Well, actually, there's like an invisible 1 right there. And it's positive, so I know this is going to be a u up. Then I look, and I'm just working left to right. What number is inside the parentheses with the x? Well, you're like, Mr. Thomas, there are no parentheses. That is correct. Therefore, there's no number inside there. And so we'd say that's 0, and then there's no number after all this. And so we would say our vertex, in order to graph, you got to know the vertex, and then you can use the kind of slope to determine. And so we would say our vertex is right there, and the kind of slope is a 1. It's invisible. And so we just move up 1, over 1, and then this is where I say it's kind of slope. Up 1, over 1 the other way. All right. I know I shared a lot on that slide, so let's just look at some examples to break it down. So, I'm going to go on, draw my little graph. It's not the prettiest, but that's all right. So the first thing I want to identify is what is the shape. So what shape is this? See the little squares? It's going to be a U. Is it a U up or U down? That's positive, so it's going to be a U up. So I just draw that to the side just so I know what it's going to look like. Then I could draw my little parentheses for the vertex, right? That's going to represent the vertex. What number is inside the parentheses with the X? Well, there's no parentheses. So we would say that's 0. And then the -5, all right, that symbol drops with it, -5 right there. So we would say our vertex is at 0, -5. So that's, I'm going to go right there on the y-axis, 0, -5, that's my vertex. And then my kind of slope is what I'm using for my next points to kind of know what it looks like. So remember, that's like a 1, an invisible 1 there. So I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, and then my graph, that is, see, I missed my point, but that is what it would look like. And just like we did with absolute value, we have an axis of symmetry that's going to go right down the middle. All right, we have a minimum on this one, remember, because we have a lowest point, and then these just go on and on up. All right, let's look at another example. So I like to draw my graph first. It doesn't have to be perfect. On MathXL, it's going to be more precise. But once again, I follow my steps. Okay, what shape is this going to be? Well, I see the square, so it's going to be a U. Is the U up or U down? Well, that's positive, so I'm going to have U up. And then, now all I need to know, I know my shape, so I just need to know my vertex. So, what number is inside the parentheses? It's a -4, so I'm going to drop the number and then switch the sign. So negative is going to be positive, and then there's not a number after the parentheses and squares, so this is just a 0. And so my vertex here would be a 4, 0. Oh, yeah, looks like I did one more dot than I normally do. All right, there we go. 4, 0. 4, 0. And then my kind of slope is a 1 again. It's invisible, but it's there. So I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. And let's see if I can draw this a little bit better. Yeah, it's not bad. I've seen worse. All right, and it's kind of a U shape. And just like on the last one, we have an axis of symmetry. And we would say, I don't know if it's going to ask you to write this out or not, but the axis of symmetry is going to be whatever the x is. So x equals 4. And then we would say this has a minimum. And the minimum is at y equals 0. That means the lowest that this graph is going to go is at 0. All right, that is how you graph quadratics. I believe that is it. Oh, we have some more examples. These are more complex. So this will be the last one that we do. All right, so real quick, we're going to get more complex. I'm going to go ahead and just draw my graph first. All right, so now you'll notice this looks more like the traditional vertex form that we're used to seeing. We have a number in front of the parentheses, inside the parentheses, and after. So first step always stays the same. I want to identify what this graph is going to look like. I see that square, so I know it's a U. And then I look at this number up here. If that's positive, it's a U up, and it is positive, so I'm going to just say that's a U up. Then I need to just find my vertex to graph this. So the number that's inside the parentheses is a -4, so I drop the number, switch the sign. Over here, I just drop the number, and so I'm going to go to 4, -2 for my vertex. Alright, this is where it gets a little tricky. My kind of slope is at 3, so I'm actually going to go up 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, and then over 1 right here. Well, that's my smart board. It's kind of weirdly calibrated. But you notice if that number is higher, the graph is going to be skinnier. If that were a fraction, it'd be wider. All right, so let's look at this last example. All right, so what shape is it? I see the square. It's going to be a U. Is it a U up or U down? Well, I got the negative, so this is actually going to be a U down. So I'm just going to draw a U down right there. Now, I'm working left to right. So I know my direction. And so now I'm going to do my vertex. And so the number inside the parentheses is a -1. So I drop the number, switch the sign. And then this 3 just drops, so my vertex is at 1, 3. Then I got to pay attention to my kind of slope, all right? So that's a -2, so I'm going to go down 2, over 1, and over 1 this direction. And there we go. I have my vertex, I have my slope going down, and then if you wanted to, you can know that that's a poorly drawn line, but my axis of symmetry, or the AOS, would be at x equals 1. And then this time it's a maximum, the highest this is going to get. So we would say this is a max at y equals 3. All right, that is graphing and identifying quadratic functions. The assignment's on MathXL. If you need help, reach out to myself or Miss Colette. Good luck, and we look forward to seeing you in class. Goodbye.